Hi, this is Valerie Geddes again. I thought this afternoon we might play a little bit with an experiment. We've been discussing dry band dressing in a group that I belong. Alden Amos is a man after my own heart. If you don't have this book and you're an avid spinner, you might really enjoy it. It's not something that you might sit down and read in an evening, but more of a resource book and encyclopedia. Let me look inside it and see if we can find a dry band dressing recipe. On page 370-71, he does give us a dry band dressing recipe. It includes 2 ounces or thereabouts of crude beeswax, 1/4 cup of athletic powdered rosin, 1/4 ounce of gum turpentine, which is approximately 1 tablespoon. He says to melt the beeswax in a double boiler, stir the rosin and turpentine together to make a paste, and then after a while you will stir the rosin turpentine paste into the melted beeswax. I have all my items assembled now, my beeswax, my rosin, my double boiler with the old jar, and cupcake holders with little papers. And then also I found out odorless mineral spirits is essentially the same use as gum turpentine. However, it is a bit safer. As a reminder, these things are flammable. They must be used with extra caution. They are not to be used over open flame. They are not to be used by children. Extra caution must be used, and for that reason, I've decided to move the process outside to the little hot plate, away from inside environment. It should be fun. Also, I show you there a little small cake of rosin used for musical instruments and some used beeswax. I've not had a lot of luck with the musical cake rosin, but I do use beeswax quite often. Some spinners don't use anything on their dry bands, and they have just as much luck. But I do like beeswax in general. Let's see how this works out. While the beeswax is melting, I've added the odorless mineral spirits to the pine rosin, and it says to stir it up. I'm using an old chopstick. Those things are just so handy. So we'll see what this develops into. And in the meantime, my beeswax is melting outside on the hot plate. So I'll just stir it periodically and wait for it to melt. A few minutes have gone by and you can see the wax starting to melt. I'll stir it periodically. And also, the rosin is a nice little grainy bit. Kind of reminds me of pie crust dough. We'll see what happens. And while I wait, I've washed my hands and made some popcorn. Come join me. I've added the rosin to the melted beeswax. Now I'm going to reheat and stir. Mr. Amos refers to this as a goo. I think he's right. The rosin's kind of solidified inside the beeswax. I'll see what heating does, if it will make the solution much more smooth. After stirring a few minutes, the little rosin gumball has become smaller and is starting to become more fluid in the beeswax. I believe the gumball is all dissolved. I think it's ready, almost, to pour into the paper liners. It is surprisingly clear fluid. Almost the color of honey. And just a little rosin left in the bottom of the jar that did not dissolve. These look beautiful. They might be presents for Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed this little adventure and experiment. It always is fun to try something new and different, something other than the normal dry band dressing of beeswax, which is certainly acceptable and much easier. Happy spinning! Enjoy.